Daniel Sunjata. What's up, sir?
What is going on, my brother? Clay, let's do this today, man.
How are you, man? How are you feeling
I
in
feel
these crazy
really
times?
Oh my God, dude. I could say so much. I'm just trying to keep it together. I think like most people,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
these are definitely crazy times. It's a crazy time to be alive, but we're here. We're here.
We're here. We're here. And listen, if you need a little bit of escapism, you got Power Book 2 Ghost, right?
Yeah.
It's good. You're along there with Mary J. Blige, Oscar nominee, the whole bit.
Crazy.
So tell me, for folks that don't know, tell us about Power Book 2 Ghost and your character. I believe his name is Mecca.
It is Mecca. Power Book 2 Ghost. Well, it's Courtney Kemp. She has this thing I guess that she likes to call the Power Universe, which started with the mothership show was Power. I was a huge fan of that show. I watched every episode of every season. I remember I was sitting on my couch in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. This is a big, rich town. I just come from the intro, everything. I was like, oh my God.
You got a little vibrato there. I hear that. You got a little something.
A little bit tiny. Yeah. Just very little. It's better in the shower. It's better in the shower.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I was watching the show and I was like, man, I would love to be on a show like that. And fast forward a couple of years later, and I'm getting a call from Courtney, and she's like, I would love for you to be on the new spinoff of Power, which is Power Book 2 Ghost. And she said, it's a great character. I want you to shave your head bald. I want you to be unrecognizable in this role and blah, yada. And there was no downside. I was like, can't get there soon enough. So I was totally signed up.
Yeah. And it really is the Power universe. It's funny. Yeah. I went to like a set visit before the show even aired many years ago in Brooklyn. I'll never forget it. 50 Cent was there. Lala Anthony was there.
Yeah.
Notori Naughton, who I love her so much. She was there. And I remember when I was at the set visit, and this is before it aired, I said, this is going to be a hit. I could just tell there was something about the energy, the cast, the people. I interviewed Courtney Kemp and 50 Cent, but I just remember feeling like there's something here. And of course it blew up. What's the vibe, the energy you get being a part of this family?
Well, I mean, let me tell you, first of all, so I went to Florida A&M University, Tallahassee, Florida, HBCU.
Yeah, that's
and
right.
When I was a freshman, this is how old your boy is. All right. Like when I was a freshman, that's when Mary J. Blige dropped What's the 411? It's the iconic album. You know what I'm saying? I know all the lyrics, all her, everything, man. Yeah. So, when I stepped on set to act with Mary, honestly, I had to try to not fanboy out. I had to try to keep it together. Don't start singing her. Don't sing her songs to her. None of that. So that was the real mind blowing aspect to me of stepping on set. But the energy was really great. Woody Mclean, who plays Kane on the show,
he's amazing.
He is amazing. The most recent thing I think he did is The Harder They Fall, which is on Netflix. Yeah. It's like a black Western, fantastic. Idris Elba.
I watched it.
Yeah, dude, I saw it twice. So
great film.
But me and Woody really connected. I loved his energy. We like text and talk every day. Even though I'm not currently on set with the show. And they just run a really tight ship, man. I mean, they're very good to their actors. They encourage us to improvise. You know what I mean? It's very easy. It's easy. It was easy acting on that show. It was really, really easy. And it was a very, very good environment. So.
And isn't it cool? I mean, you've been doing this for a long time. It's just, I love that we're in this space now where you have Courtney Kemp as the showrunner. She created this show. It's just great to see Black folks not only in front of the camera but behind the camera. It's just a beautiful thing. I mean, you've been doing this for a while. I mean, I feel like when you first started out, you didn't see too much of like a Courtney Kemp out there.
No, actually, what I in a couple conversations recently, I've had the observation. This is just my impression. You know what Dick Wolf did with Law and Order? It was like Law and Order, and then it was Law and Order SVU. And then there were several other things that he did. He found a formula that worked in the context of procedural television shows. And he expanded that and turned it into an entire empire. This is what Courtney has now done. So she's got, it's Power Book 2 Ghost. It's Raising Kanan. There's a new show that's going to premiere based on the character of Tommy, which is called Force. And then there's like 2 more. And she found this thing, this niche that works. And it's in the context of telling stories that feature us, okay, Black people.
Yeah.
Done in a way that's never been done before. And yeah, it's a little glamorized and there's a little, but it's entertainment. You know, it's not supposed to actually be real life. It's some reasonable facsimile of what real life is supposed to be. And man, I mean, she is balling out and setting a very high standard. She's setting the bar very high for those of us who will now follow and continue in that vein. So.
Yeah, again, y'all got to watch it. It is Sundays at 8 p.m. on Stars. I do got to say this, though. I want to go back to 2004. You were in one of my favorite movies of all time. And I know we're on radio, but I actually still have the DVD. It's called Brother to Brother.
My guy.
You played Langston Hughes in this movie. It's Anthony Mackie. I always say her first name wrong. Anjanae Ellis. I'm sorry. I forget if I said it wrong. Who's currently in King Richard with Will Smith. I think Rodney Evans was the director. This movie changed my life, man. I watched it over and over. It was an independent film, Brother to Brother, and it was really beautiful. It was set in present day, but then there was these flashback scenes to the Harlem Renaissance, and it was in black and white, and you played Langston Hughes, and I love this movie. I just wanted to know if you could tell me your memories of working on Brother to Brother.
Man, 2004, you're asking me to go back quite a ways. What I can tell you is it did a lot for my career. I didn't have much to do with Anthony. Most of my scenes were all obviously the flashback scenes, but just the opportunity to even try to embody Langston Hughes, such a legendary, you know what I mean, a Leviathan, an intellectual giant, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And somebody that obviously means so much to our community. That was really the main thing. It was really just the opportunity I haven't been cast. So here's something for you, man. As an ambiguously non-white individual, which is what most people see me as. They don't know, they think I'm Puerto Rican, they think I'm Dominican. I haven't been cast really as a Black man very many times in my career. That was I think that was the very first time. And then there was a lot of other things where I would just, again, be like ethnically ambiguous and they might not comment on what it is. The most recent time would be being cast as Mecca in Power. You know, and so anyway, it was for those reasons. Both of those experiences were really, really special to me. And Brother to Brother, it's something I'll never forget, for sure.
And you were adopted, correct? But what is your background? You have a Black parent and a white parent?
I have Irish and German on my mother's side, and blackity black all black on black on my dad's side. And I just literally found my biological family on my father's side. Yeah, on my father's side. And got the confirmation that I'm 23andMe. We did the whole DNA test and everything and found out absolutely this is my family. And my dad, Black. So.
And what's interesting is that you're from Evanston, Illinois, correct? Do I have that right, Evanston? Which just recently got this deal where they kind of some folks didn't like it, but they kind of sort of got reparations. Did you hear about this?
No.
Because of a history of racist housing practices, they're giving like non-people, select people reparations in this. So that your town has a really robust history. So that's interesting.
So, Claire, are you telling me I've got a check?
I don't know about you, but somebody got something. But I'm sure you deserve it, brother. I'm sure you deserve it. Do you think you mentioned being racially ambiguous? Do you think because there's this whole idea of colorism in Hollywood? Do you think that's helped you being quote unquote, racially ambiguous? Has it helped you to some degree?
Without a doubt, that would be my perspective. And I've always, ever since when I came out of NYU, I looked at it this way. As an actor, one of the things that you want to display is range. You want to be able to play, characters across the broadest spectrum possible. And I think that my ethnic ambiguity has helped me in that regard. Like I said, I'd love to be cast as a black man, but the fact that on Rescue Me, for instance, it was a Dennis Leary show about post 9/11 firefighters in New York City. I was playing Franco Rivera, who was like Nuyorican. So, you know, the ethnic ambiguity absolutely helps in terms of being able to be cast across a broad spectrum of, you know, different people. So, yeah.
So, okay, you were also, I'm going to go through your career for a minute. You were also in Sex and the City. You were like a guy from Louisiana. For folks who haven't seen the show, it's 4 women in New York City, the whole bit. And it's Fleet Week, and this character, Carrie Bradshaw, meets up with you. So I remember seeing this episode thinking, wow, Carrie Bradshaw is going to like touch a black dude. This is actually going to happen. It didn't happen. The character, whatever, didn't. Y'all didn't do anything. She just kind of walked away because you were talking about New York. But I'm curious to know, at that point, this show was iconic. It was very popular. But in black communities, we were saying there isn't a black soul in New York in Sex and the City world. Were you aware of that when you came onto the show, the dialogue that this show was lacking diversity in New York? Were you aware of that at all?
No. As a matter of fact, you just put me on game there, bro. No. At that time, I was just happy to have a job. Right. I think the character's name was Louis Leroy.
Yeah, and exactly.
Yeah. I played he was a sailor. Fleet Week. We had like a little flirtation. There was a really cool dance sequence that we did together. Yeah. I can tell you that Sarah Jessica Parker was extremely generous. She was very kind, and she didn't have to be because she was an executive producer on that show. She literally, she literally didn't even have to give me the time of day. She was super sweet, super nice. And for several years after that one episode that I did, I got recognized more for that than for anything else that I was doing, because Sex and the City was such a huge phenomenon. I, however, was not aware of the lack of diversity on the show at the time, or that I had anything to do with adding a little, you know, coffee to their cream. I did not know that. I had no idea. But good. Hey, that's good.
Have you seen the new version that's on HBO Max?
Yeah, I have. What is it? What is it called? That's what it is.
Just like that.
Just like that. Yeah, I did. Yeah, I have watched that. I have. And what were you gonna say?
You go ahead. You go ahead, brother. You go ahead.
In an interview that I did just a couple of days ago, they asked me, would I like to reprise my role as Louis Leroy if they wanted to bring me back? Which they're first of all, spoiler alert, they're not going to do that. They have not called me.
Louis is grown in Louisiana. He's probably married up now. Like
he's wifed up. Yeah.
Exactly.
But I said yes because of the way that she kind of just kicked my character to the curb. I didn't even get a kiss, man. I didn't even get a kiss. Like nothing.
No, it's funny that the new version, they are really trying to be diverse. It's interesting. They're really, some folks have said it's kind of pushed and forced, but they're trying because of the critiques they had back in the day. So it's
good.
It's
you know, hey, good for them. Honestly, even if it's pushed, even if it's forced, what that indicates to me is that there is effort in that direction, and that's what we need. So
exactly.
Yeah, sure.
I do miss Kim Cattrall though. I do miss her.
And
you know, I didn't get into the show until after it after it like the last season. I'm like, I'm not gonna watch these show about these rich people in New York City. I don't want to watch that. But then when I watched it, I gotta admit, just the writing was good. And as a writer, I said, okay, I can appreciate this is really good writing. So I was able to see beyond my own issue what I thought. So, this is really good writing. And even that episode you were in, just this idea of New York being her boyfriend. And if you're single in New York City, I think a lot of folks can relate to that. So just seeing beyond that, seeing beyond that.
I mean, hey,
good
man,
writing is good writing.
I'm a Chicago boy, and Chicago is my girlfriend. See,
right.
So
exactly.
it's all about how you see things, and what you just said about the writing and how you were able to, even though this was not a show that you felt was tailor-made, you were not their target demographic, let's say,
right.
That you could still appreciate the show for what it was. You know, that's why we have different channels on TV, man. People like different things. You know what I mean?
Exactly. It's all good. It's all good. And of course, I'm sure you get this a lot. You were in the Devil Wears Prada.
Oh yeah.
Which that's another show that movie that I didn't watch until years later, and I loved it. And you played this character, James Holt.
Yeah.
This is an iconic movie, of course. But you're with the legendary Meryl Streep. I mean, what was that like? Being with, and her pursing her lips in the famous scene where she doesn't like James Holt's one of the dresses.
First of all, dude, you've done your homework, man. I love it. I love this. This is great. Yeah. So being on set with her was kind of like what I was saying about Mary J. Blige, like just somebody that is so iconic and such a huge, personality in the context of the business that you do. That was crazy. But I didn't have very much of this. Like you and me right now, we're dialoguing. I'm talking to you and you're talking to me. I was mostly just on set with Meryl Streep, but we didn't, and then she references my character several times. She mentions James Holt, points to me a couple times, you know what I mean? Makes some facial expressions in my direction, but we didn't really do a lot of what I would consider acting together. But having said all of that, it was still amazing. Like Anne Hathaway, you know what I'm saying? Like it was crazy. It was crazy.
What's the cat's name? Stanley Tucci? Is that? Yep. Yeah, he's great. He's great. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, he's amazing.
So you said you went to an HBCU, Florida A&M. Yeah. How did a HBCU prepare you for the quote unquote real world? How did the HBCU really get you ready for what you've had to come out here and face?
Wow, man. Well, at that time I was still really kind of trying to find myself, my own identity, being adopted, and adopted, by the way, I was adopted into a family of white folks. A mother, my late mother, Sicilian, my dad also, who recently passed away, Irish. So, then I went to an elementary school, which was predominantly white. Then I went to Mount Carmel High School in Chicago, which was kind of a mix. There were the black people, and I then made the choice that I was going to go to an HBCU. And it was my mother, by the way, who suggested that I do that, because she knew. Wow. She was like, Daniel, she's like, Daniel, you're black, and you've been raised in a white household and you've grown up in predominantly white environments and communities, but you need to know how to move in this world, according to not only how you see yourself, but how other people see you. And so she sent me to Florida A&M University. And FAMU, I guess, prepared me for this industry just by giving me the foundational aspects of my approach to the craft. Like, how acting, acting 101, an appreciation for the skill sets that have to come together in order for a play or a movie or a TV show to be made. And what I mean by that is, look, if there's no lighting, you can't be seen. If the camera, if the shot is not set up correctly, you're going to look weird. If it's edited wrong, you're going to look, it's not going to come across well. So FAMU gave me an appreciation for how plays, TVs, and movies are made by a group of people, each of whom has a specific skill set that they bring to the table in order to make the thing come off. You have to work as an organism. And yeah, man, and then, like I said, it was like my own, I was on my own path of like finding my own self-identity. And so it was a kind of a contextual present that FAMU gave me on many different levels, if that makes sense. I don't know.
No, it makes perfect sense. Have you ever heard of Gene Toomer and the book Cane?
And who?
Gene Toomer in this book called Cane, C-A-N-E.
I don't think
so. You got to read this book. Gene Toomer was a white passing. I mean, he looked white. He was a white passing black guy in the Harlem Renaissance. And Cane is about him going down south. And it's really written. It's beautifully. It's really poetic. Going down south to find his roots and find his identity. I mean, but he had no melanin. I mean, to me, he was white. But he did have like some kind of black. Back then, it was. If you had one little teensy weensy thing, they thought something. But it's a really, I think you would like it. It's a really fascinating book, Cane, about going to his roots, finding his identity, finding who he is. Yeah, it's a story that he's an author a lot of folks don't know. Then after he did that, he passes for white and ignores all of that and never goes back to his blackness and disappears.
Wow,
really fascinating.
That is fascinating. That is fascinating. Wow. Yeah. And I don't even know how to feel about that. I mean, well, like because of the way you just presented this, you know, you're setting it in a certain historical milieu, right?
Right.
When things were, things aren't perfect now. So they were bad then, you know, and he was able to kind of and move in a certain way. And he chose himself over, I guess, his people.
Right.
It is what it is. But hey, at least he took the journey to try to find out who he was. He knew who he was, even if he decided not to act like it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, we're talking 1920s. We're talking about the era that you covered in Brother to Brother, playing Langston Hughes. And he was close to Langston Hughes, actually.
Oh.
But it's really fast. It's really interesting. But a lot of folks don't know his story. It's really interesting.
You probably have that book somewhere behind you.
I do. Oh, yo, it's right here. We're on radio, but it's right here, brother. Kane by Gene Toomer.
Oh,
it's
my
right
God.
Here.
You really literally had the book.
It's beautiful. It's a beautifully written book. Yeah. I literally have it.
That's crazy that you have that.
Listen, I want to thank you for coming on. I was super excited to talk to you. You're a phenomenal actor, first of all, really great actor.
Thank you.
And I love how I've seen you navigate all these spaces. And it's, it's funny how you said that people think you're Puerto Rican or Dominican. Mm-hmm. I get that sometimes too, not all the time. When I'm in New York, when I'm out in New York, nobody thinks that. But I always say they always think that because a lot of Puerto Ricans and Dominicans are black. So that's why they think it. That's really what it is, right? They think because you're black, a lot of them are.
Well, let me tell you, bro, like just last thought here. When people talk about like a melting pot, the only ethnotype, I guess I would call it, that is a real melting pot. I wouldn't say the only, but when you think about, people from South America, Latinos, that's the product of literally everybody on the planet mixing together, and that's what they look like. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
I mean, obviously we all come from, where we come from.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But still there's derivations of every ethnotype. You see Mexican people with blonde hair and blue eyes, and Dominicans that look like they literally are from Nigeria. It's like and everything in between. Can I ask you, man?
Sure.
You kind of look like me in a little bit. So are you?
Well, my mother's white and my father's black.
Boom.
That's so similar background as yours.
Yeah.
But also for me though, I don't this could be generational. I always say I have a white mother, but I don't identify with the term biracial. That's never resonated. I didn't grow up hearing that. That's never resonated with me. Just me personally, but I understand what other folks do. But I guess I'm more like Barack Obama, Bob Marley, Halle Berry, kind of on my, unless Tiger Woods. I don't know, and that's no disrespect to him, but it's just I've always navigated as a space of just being a black man in America, and I'm not white passing. But a lot of younger people now, they really embrace terms like biracial, and I've even heard like multiracial. I'm like, okay, but for me, that's just not what resonated with me. But I also grew up in a black environment, so for the most part. So that's just been my walk and my experience.
100%. And man, I was a fan of Bob Marley, who, by the way, is my favorite musical artist of all time. And I was a fan of Bob for, it had to be 5 or 6 years before I ever even found out that he had a white father. I just thought he was black. I never even knew that. Yeah.
I mean, so many of it. I mean, Bob Marley, Frederick Douglass, like, I always say being mixed, quote unquote, is consistent with the black experience. You know what I'm saying? Like there are some black folks where both their parents are black, like Vanessa Williams, and she has blue eyes. Like we are mixed people because of miscegenation. So I get a little bit weird about degrees of blackness. I don't want to get into a blood quantum of blackness. Now, of course, there is light skin privilege, like you were saying before, being lighter skin, being ambiguous. I totally get that. But yeah, so that's the way that I've always seen and walked it. But we all come out of different ways. And that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, Clay, and people forget, man. They used to call it was a octoroon, quadroon, half-breed, mongrel, mulatto. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this had to do with your landing rights. This had to do with like, could you own land? Could you vote?
Exactly.
Could you? It's crazy town, man.
It's crazy.
But it is a reality. Now, I don't mean I don't I hear you, man. I don't necessarily agree with the labeling and the way that the labeling is leveraged, has been historically leveraged against us or in our favor, depending on how white or black you are. But you know, we are a people that we literally are the rainbow of humanity. Like,
absolutely.
You know, across
especially African Americans.
Yes.
Especially Black Americans. That is just the very nature of our background and who we
100,
are. So,
100.